What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 202 Show. I'm Ryan Saber. Today, we're taking a look at what could have been one of the most iconic superhero films in the 1990s, if it were actually made. We're going to break down an original screenplay for a Spider-Man movie that could have premiered in 1993, directed by James Cameron and starring a young Leonardo DiCaprio as Peter Parker. Film obviously never got the green light, but if it did, damn, it would have been cool. We're also going to further explore some of the potential ripple effects that this movie could have had by doing a fan cast of the MCU in the 1990s. Finally, we're going to finish off by discussing Spider-Man's best suit. But before we do, let's get into this by introducing my wonderful co-host, Mr. Sean Corcoran.
Hi.
Mr. Matt Berentsen.
What up?
And Mr. Andrew Greenblatt.
Hello.
All right. So, as usual, if you haven't seen us before or are just joining us for the first time, we are the 202 Show, the podcast talk show where we talk sports, comic books, movies, music, and really anything else we want to talk about. But let's be real, it's mostly football and comic books recently. We post new videos every week, so make sure to subscribe to the channel below and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the 202 Show for more content. So before we get into this, I was watching The Office the other day for like the 105th time because I've watched it over and over and over again to the point that I think Taylor hates the show. And the episode that happens to be on is Crime Aid. This is the one where Holly and Michael have sex in the stairwell, forget to lock the door, get robbed, and Michael throws a charity auction to try to raise some money. And of course, the main plot of the episode is that Michael's going to auction off 2 Bruce Springsteen tickets that we all know he probably doesn't have. Now, right before the auction starts, there's a quick talking head with Daryl, who says that Michael gave him a list of his 10 favorite Bruce Springsteen songs. 3 were Huey Lewis in the News, 1 was Short People by Randy Newman, and 1 was Tracy Chapman Fast Car. So, Sean, I know you're a big Springsteen fan. Greenblatt, I know you're a big Springsteen fan. Matt, are you in on this or no? Because I know I told you don't have to, but...
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. So,
But not, don't worry.
I got you. All right. So, basically, the game I want to play is I want to ask you guys what is actually on Michael Scott's Bruce Springsteen playlist. So, realistically, the way I made a playlist of 23 songs. I once again know that I went completely overboard because it's what I do. I know I asked you guys for 10. But when making this list, the main thing I tried to think of is that when Michael Scott thinks of Bruce Springsteen, the dog is scratching at my door. When Michael Scott thinks of Bruce Springsteen, he obviously thinks of the radio popular ones and the radio friendly ones and the ones that everybody knows. So as much as I love Jungle Land and Thunder Road, they didn't make my cut because I don't know that Michael Scott would be super into it. So Greenblatt, I'm going to let you start. What is your, or not your, but what in your opinion is Michael Scott's Bruce Springsteen playlist?
To start it off, I had Streets of Philadelphia.
Interesting.
I
that
figured,
actually didn't even make mine.
Good I mean,
song.
I thought it would just be like besides the fact that it's an amazing song, also the fact they're in Pennsylvania and Michael Scott seems like the kind of guy that would love a song just about like a city and a stadium.
I didn't even think of that.
That's pretty good.
That's
Very good.
really good. I didn't even think of that. All right, next.
I also had Born to Run.
Yep.
I mean, because Michael, he loves to run, even though he's awful at it.
Yep.
Dancing in the Dark.
Yep.
Dude loves to dance. I also had Spirit in the Night. I'm not sure if you would like that, but
I think that's like a mid-range one. I don't know that that's in his top, but I'll give you that.
yeah, I mean, they're also just like I think like he's just got way too many good songs. It was really hard to come up with this list. I'll be honest.
But
Another
do you
good song.
have songs from other people? That was the joke.
Oh no, I thought you said you were just doing that.
Nope, it's fine. Sean, did you only do Bruce songs, or did you get songs from other people?
Well, I thought of a few Huey Lewis songs.
Yeah,
what was it? Power of Love would be one.
Yep.
Square.
If This Is It, which I feel like everyone would know, and then I Want a New Drug.
Nope. None of those were actually on mine. Power of Love was on mine, I think.
Huh.
No, I don't see it. It's not actually on mine.
What about hip to be? How about?
Yep,
what about
that's
hip to
on
be
mine.
square?
All right, Matt, do
Yeah,
you have
figured.
anything before
I did do
read
Bruce.
mine?
Yes, I do actually. I had to write this list down though, just
Yep.
in case I didn't forget. So please excuse my book.
No, of course.
So, Born to Run,
Yep.
Born to Run, 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 and Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan.
Love it.
I feel like, yeah, I also had Hungry Heart and The Rising. That's the only other differentials that I had from Greenblatt's.
Okay,
I was also thinking 10th Avenue Freeze Out.
10th Avenue Freeze Out's actually the first one on mine.
I threw The Rising in just because I ran out of songs that he would listen to.
The only reason I wouldn't put The Rising on my list is because The Rising, if you guys don't know, is Bruce's song about 9/11.
The whole album was.
Yes, and it's about the country rising up and becoming one, and in a very Bruce Springsteen way, rising up after 9/11. And obviously, that didn't come out in the 70s and 80s because 9/11 happened in 2001. The song came out in 2002, which is why that's the only reason I would be a little tough with it, because I think that's a little late for Michael Scott to be listening to.
Oh, no, that's fair. I honestly put that down because I was having trouble with like songs he would put down, so I just threw it in there just for the heck of it.
I could hypothetically see, though,
Shit.
I could also see a very real scenario where Michael Scott is like walking through like a Target or something and finds Bruce Springsteen's latest CD and has no idea who he is before that. And
okay, I could see that too. I could get that. All right, so my list, and this is what I could come up with. And I did try to put them in order into, like, what's the first thing Michael Scott thinks about. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So here's what I have. In order, I have Glory Days by Bruce, Do You Believe in Love by Huey Lewis and the News, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News, Born to Run, Love Stinks by the Jay Giles Band, Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money, Jack and Diane by John Cougar Mellencamp, Born in the USA, Dancing in the Dark, Dancing in the Moonlight by King Harvest, Rosalita, Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf, Hungry Heart, Short People by Randy Newman was a given, Badlands by Bruce, Must Have Got Lost by the Jay Giles Band, My Hometown, Brock Lobster by the B-52s, Fast Car by Tracy Chapman was a given, Heart of Rock and Roll was also a given, but because that was the song that actually played that he thought was Bruce. And then my final two, Oh Sherry by Steve Perry, that rhymes, and my personal favorite, because listening to this, I'm like, wow, this actually sounds like it could be, is Why Can't This Be Loved by Van Hagar. Van Halen, but Van Hagar. So that's my collective list of what I think Michael Scott's favorite Bruce Springsteen songs are. If you think I got it right, if you don't, make sure to comment down below, because I want to know, and we want to know what we missed. So, moving forward, let's go ahead and take a look at the screenplay that, like I said, I've been wanting to talk about for a while. We've just had way too much topical stuff come up in the news that fits in with the show, so we wanted to hit that first. But before we do, let me give you a little background. So if you're trying to picture this along in your head, as you should, you get the right idea. So the movie was set to be directed, of course, by James Cameron with the cast that follows. Leonardo DiCaprio was played Peter Parker, Robin Lively as MJ, Maggie Smith as Aunt May, Arlie Emery as J. Jonah Jameson, Lance Henriksen as Carlton Strand / Electro, Michael Biehn as Sandman, and a cameo of Arnold Schwarzenegger as Otto Octavius. Now the plot, and I will try to keep this as brief as I can, but I do want you guys to get the general details of what this movie was going to be, because I really, really liked it. The plot is very similar to the original Tobey Maguire movie that ended up being made, with some very, very obvious differences. First off, the Osborns, not there. There's no Green Goblin, no Harry Osborn. The beginning of the movie, though, is still very similar. Peter's at school and gets paired with the girl of his dreams for a project. And of course, this ends up being Mary Jane Watson. MJ is with the popular girls, and Peter's getting bumped around by Flash Thompson. So one day, Pete goes on to this billion-dollar research facility that's not named Oscorp, gets bit by a radioactive spider, feels weird, goes home, tries to sleep it off, has crazy nightmares, and wakes up hanging from a stoplight at like 4 a.m. in his underwear, which I think is a position that we've all been in before.
In there.
Yep. He gets home, tries to sleep it off again before school. This time, when he wakes up, we get the typical, oh shit, I'm Spider-Man scene. He's bigger, faster, stronger, and can see. He starts accidentally webbing up everything in the room, which I think is a very sexual innuendo. And the scene actually reads very similar to the bathroom scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine. We get almost the same testing out my Spider-Man powers montage that we saw with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movies. If nothing else, maybe a little bit goofier. We, of course, get a scene where he's using Spider-Man powers to spy on Mary Jane as she undresses to go to sleep, which, of course, is creepy, but stereotyping a teenage boy, so I get it. Cut back to the training montage, and this is where we see the symbolism of darkness start to play in. I actually really like that about this screenplay because we really do see the theme of darkness explored in a much more liberal sense than we did with the movies that actually did get made with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland. And you'll see what I mean by that as we look further. We also start to see this underlying anger in Peter, the built-up frustration and angst that he has as Peter Parker, the kid that nobody likes and gets bullied and is a lower middle-class family and lives with his aunt and uncle and has no parents. It reads, we explore the idea that the lure of darkness replaces the fear of the dark, that the dark becomes a comforting, nurturing place for Peter rather than a place of dread and uncertainty. He feels at home in the dark, secure there. It is the place he seeks for solace, for peace. Everything is backwards for him. Night becomes day. Heights, previously terrifying, now attract him. The air becomes water. He swims weightlessly where other mortals would plummet and break. He is at home in places others fear, and it stirs something dark inside him, a predatory urge. What I think is so interesting is that we always see the balance of power shift once Peter gets his powers. We'll always see the realization in Peter Parker that, oh shit, I can kick these other guys' asses if I wanted to, but he knows he can't. And that idea is actually one of the reasons that I love Superman as a character so much, but that's a different video for a different day. In this adaptation of the character, you actually see Peter tempted to the dark side more than I think we ever actually do. This Peter decides he's going to start using these powers to make money. And so we see him start parkouring his way up and down sidewalks in a makeshift spider suit. He gets popular, the press starts to notice, and that's when we meet our big bad in the most evil mobster moment like ever. Cut to an opulent mansion in Manhattan, marble floors, priceless art on the walls, camera tracking through the luxurious darkness to a vast living room with a fire burning in an enormous fireplace. One wall of the room is covered with TV screens, a figure watching it from a high back chair, watching the amazing Spider-Man on the variety show. A hand appears from the chair back. With a minute gesture and no remote, the hand commands the TV screens. They all switch the channel on which Spider-Man is performing. 20 images of Spider-Man on cable. As the audience claps and the host makes some backhanded compliment, a joke at Spider-Man's expense. Peter, eager to please, doesn't get it. He does another trick, the band strikes up, and they go commercial. We reveal the figure in the chair. This is Carlton Strand. He's in his early 40s and exudes power from every pore. He is wearing a very expensive custom-tailored suit. His hair is slicked back, very GQ. His nails are manicured. His watch is platinum. He is the image of vast wealth not inherited. Cut to a Spider-Man voiceover. Carlton Strand. You'd think Trump is big. Ha, ha, ha. This guy was bigger. There he was, sitting like a big fat spider at the center of his web of power and megabucks. Like I said, very, very 90s typical mobster, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. So, the man introduced is obviously Electro, and that's also where we meet Sandman, his henchman, who goes by Boyd in this movie instead of Flint Marko, again, for reasons. And we learn Electro's backstory. That very typical 90s villain, he's essentially a low-level henchman who gets caught in an electrical experiment storm it basically being in the wrong place at the wrong time, gets powers, and becomes Electro. They also go on to say how Strand can never touch anybody or he'll accidentally kill them, which gives us this idea that Strand can never be happy and has to find happiness and money and being an evil dick. And he also, the touching people and kill them, I noticed, was very similar to Rogue in the X-Men movies. Peter ends up going on a talk show, and when he leaves, he gets beat up by Sandman. It's a realization that he's not the only one with powers anymore. Cut back to Peter, who's leaving school to go home when he sees Flash hit Mary Jane, which, once again, 90s. Then as Flash is leaving gymnastics practice, which is super masculine, Peter beats the shit out of him in a black fishnet mask, equally masculine. Then threatens him to stay away from MJ. Peter loves the fact that he just beat the piss out of the bully, and we're starting to see this anti-hero build up inside of Spider-Man. He starts doing Spider-Man-y things, breaking up fights between a man and a woman, and the lady goes, "Stop hitting my husband." Then we get the Uncle Ben, great power, great responsibility scene. Never actually says that, though. And Peter's like, yeah, okay, cool, old guy. We get to see him where Peter's leaving his agent's office. The guy runs in to rob the place. He didn't stop it. The guy leaves and kills Uncle Ben. And then Peter has the epiphany, oh, shit, I could have done something to stop this. Tracks the guy down and, of course, realizes it was the same dude. And actually webs him up, unlike killing him accidentally like they did in the original Spider-Man movie, and I'm 99% sure they do in the comic books, which actually surprised me because I really did think that Peter was going to kill him while reading this. He webs the guy up and drops him off at the police station, and the police actually try to arrest Peter. He then escapes, and while he escapes being arrested, this is where the information of him being a menace starts to pour out of J. Jonah Jameson through the media. This is where it really starts to get edgy. Peter starts to become a full-on vigilante, beating up anyone he deems a criminal, but also two police officers when he sees them committing police brutality, which, again, is a very timely topic in the early 90s, just as much as it is now, as well as a little subtle racism to drop in. Black kids think he's black, white kids white, Hispanic, etc. Italians say he's Italian, gays think he's gay. We also get the saving MJ scene when Spider-Man threatens murder, which is a very Spider-Man thing to do. The scene is very similar to the one in the original Spider-Man movie, except this one he goes a little far, saying, and I quote, "If you worthless chunks of vomit show your faces around here again, I'll decorate my Christmas tree with your intestines." Yeah, got it, Wolverine. So police don't like him, bad guys don't like him, and still nobody likes Peter Parker. So Peter begins to feel like an outcast, and Electro tries to use this to take him under his wing. This is also where we learn Sandman's backstory, where that he was fixing a pipe and he was a maintenance man working at a science facility. It goes wrong, and he ends up getting blown into Sandman. Very similar to Spider-Man 3. This is where we see Electro make his sales pitch to Peter. Peter says no, and then they try to kill him. Peter escapes out a window, and the bad guys are even more pissed off than before. And that's when Strand actually starts paying off the media and donating to the police in their efforts to get Spider-Man. And this actually reminded me of Daredevil Born Again, but just on a much smaller scale in the way the Kingpin completely manipulates Matt Murdock's life and gets him essentially broke and homeless. He's also got guys to dress up as fake Spider-Man and rob jewelry stores, similar to what Ra's al Ghul did in Arrow Season 3. Then he ends up with the flu and throwing up on someone's fire escape just in time for a little bit more subtle racism. He then goes on to do more Spidey and continually just makes things worse despite his best efforts. Insert Trump joke here. And this is where we go into Peter teetering on the line between good and evil. And it reads, Peter will have a crisis of faith, where the burden of the world's ills becomes so overwhelming he feels paralyzed. His new power is partially about the power he sees and the responsibility not to turn his head away. He can go into the shadows, look in the windows, watch us all from above, and he will see the human nature for what it is. He will enter the moral twilight zone where victims and the crimes are not so clear-cut, where it is hard for a well-meaning crusader to jump in and say or help when victims must be saved from themselves, or from a society which grinds them down. And how one man, one boy can really make a difference. The tide of injustice and pain is too overwhelming, like an avalanche thundering down on him until he starts to think there are no good people to save, only varying degrees of bad, that this whole city is a toilet of greed and dark passions. He busts some thieves to find out that they were just a bunch of kids like himself. One of the kids runs, trying to escape, and slips off the fire escape. Peter tries to catch him, but he can't. This kid hits the street and dies. Just kids, needing some money in a tough world, just like him. The line between good and evil is getting blurred. This is where we really see his morals start to get pulled. Aunt May can't make the house payments on her Social Security check. Now with medical bills piling up, Peter's going to need a job. Let's see. There's Pizza Hut, of a car wash, or there's always the $20,000 in 20s and 50s sitting on the coffee table of a drug dealer's house he just dropped in on. There won't be any objection for the drug dealers, who are all webbed up and waiting for the cops, who will take a credit for the bust. And then there's some money. Go on, take it. Aunt May needs that operation. Her Medicare won't cover it. Why should she suffer in pain? Maybe die. There's some money. Nobody would know. Spider-Man can move like a ghost. And Peter would have an extra little cash. Stop having to ride a moped or take the bus. He could buy a car and could take a girl on a real date. That would show those soft buttheads with the dentists and the lawyers for dads. The smirking laughter, the Mindys and the Mandys and the Sandys would finally stop ringing in his ears. He's hovering on the brink of going over the line and becoming a criminal himself. He sees this opportunity right in front of him. It would be so easy. Spider-Man, I figured being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man would get easier as I went along. Well, I'm waiting. Cut to Spider-Man, his hand reaching slowly for the stack of bills. He looks into the eyes of the drug dealer. What the hell are you looking at? He leaps out of the window with the money. So he takes the money and eventually gives it away like he's supposed to because he's Spider-Man. He used all his pent-up angst to seduce Mary Jane and take her to the Brooklyn Bridge for some questionably consensual sex between high school kids, which again is probably legal because 90s, and we'll definitely talk about that more. Sandman sees Spidey and MJ together, deducts that they're together, and of course, like any good bad guy plot, kidnaps MJ to get to Peter, which kicks off the final act of the movie. He's set up so the police think that he's kidnapped MJ. He goes to Strand's house to find a videotape, because 90s, of Electro at the top of the World Trade Center holding MJ, threatening, come save her or I'll kill her. Again, because typical bad guy plot, he totally kicks the window of the World Trade Center in, which is totally uncomfortable if you think about it. Electro does his best Darth Vader impression, saying, Spidey, join me in the dark side and we can rule this city, shoves $250 million in his face. Spidey declines and Electro starts torturing Mary Jane. There's a great 90s reference where Electro shocks her and she starts doing the Watusi. He fully electrocutes her and Peter thinks she's dead, and we get the most not Spider-Man line in the movie. I'll kill you, motherfucker. You hear me? You're dead, you sick bastard. That's Spider-Man, remember? Electro shocks her and she wakes up and Peter goes ballistic, scoops up MJ, and jumps out of the World Trade Center. Again, uncomfortable. The bad guys jump after her and we get the final battle, and here's how it reads. So they have the big final battle outside the World Trade Center. Electro accidentally shoots Sandman and kills Sandman because sand and electricity became glass. He dies and Peter goes, bummer. MJ tells Peter that she loves him, which he replies, cool. He ends up throwing Strand off a building, accidentally webbing him, but then his body slams into something, just like Gwen Stacy's does in the comic books and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And that's how the movie wraps up. He dies. They go back to school. Peter tells MJ that he's Spider-Man, and they have the whole scene of Flash trying to punch Peter and only hurting himself. Peter says some cool one-liners, and him and MJ walk off into the sunset. So, I know that took a while, and I'm really hoping you guys are still there mentally. But, Greenblatt, let's start with you. What do you think, bud? What do you think of the screenplay? What do you think this movie could have been? And overall, what do you think?
I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, there's only really one part I liked about it, and that was just the Spider-Man voiceovers. That's okay. Really, I'll be honest, that's really the only thing I actually enjoyed about it. I mean,
I get that.
Fight, it's just, I don't know, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the essence of what Spider-Man is.
And I completely agree with that. It was darker. It was definitely darker, and I think that had a lot to do with the fact that it's 1993, and if you look at comic books in the early 90s, that was when it was really starting to get dark. Because the early 90s was when comic books could really start to push the limit of what they can get away with. You see, things like Maximum Carnage came out of that era, the Apocalypse stories. It got dark. And so I can see that they did want to transition that to comic book movies. And yes, it did seem a little bit dark for a Spider-Man movie, but I also kind of like that. Matt, what do you think?
I liked the story as a movie, especially because a James Cameron movie isn't going to be bad unless it's Avatar. Personal opinion.
Okay, well, I'll let that go for now.
Anyway, so it's going to be a good movie. Would it have been as fondly looked back on as the Tobey Maguire movies, the Sam Raimi movies? I don't think so. I think this is being written in like 1990. Like,
yes,
this is pre-Titanic. This is a while ago.
Yes.
When we saw movies that were comic book movies in the 90s,
They sucked.
they weren't doing great. They were Blade. They made a Fantastic Four in 94 that literally never saw the light of day because it was so goddamn awful. You can find that on YouTube.
I have.
So
Good luck.
as much as I think it would have been interesting to see this get made, and Leonardo DiCaprio as Spider-Man is something I definitely would have loved to see. I think he if he was Spider-Man, he could have been up there in the argument of who is the best Spider-Man, because he's got that skinny boy kind of, like, if he's not wearing the suit, he looks a little bit dorky. He's obviously still objectively handsome, but not menacing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think he would have been able to be sarcastic, likable. He just has that personality. He would have been a great Peter Parker. He would have been a great Spider-Man. So I think that would have been a movie that either would have been absolutely loved or would have probably grown into being a cult favorite, maybe.
That's what I was thinking. I could see it being a cult favorite movie. It reminded me a little bit of Tim Burton's Batman Returns. Looking at it, not the original Batman, because the original Batman, I think, had a little bit more camp to it, where I think Batman Returns took itself more seriously, which almost to a fault. I love Batman Returns, but it did take itself a little bit too seriously. And that's what I kind of thought of when I was reading this, is I got a Batman Returns vibe. I got from a cinematic perspective, I got a very black and white color tone looking at it. Because if you think of Batman Returns, the sets are all snow-covered. And it's a very, very black and white movie. And I don't mean shot in black and white, but in terms of color tones, it's a very black and white movie. And I got that here too. And I agree. I think it would have been more of a cult classic. And I know when we talk about doing the fan cast of the whole MCU, I don't think it would have spawned a full Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think it had that power. But Sean, I want to ask you, do you think there would have been sequels?
I think there very well could have been sequels. Exactly what they would have. I mean, obviously, they only made the script for this movie, so I don't know what would have come. But I could definitely see it being sequels as long as it made money and the critics liked and all that. But I think overall, I think the whole script was interesting. It definitely wasn't like the normal Spider-Man you're used to, but
no, not at all.
It would have been interesting to see, and it would have been interesting to see where they took it from there. Who they eventually had the Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, all those kind of
Sandman,
villains.
They had Sandman.
Seriously, it would have been
Vulture,
interesting
Kraven.
if they just kept going and see where they went. Yeah.
What other thoughts did you have on it?
Yeah, Kraven would have been a good one.
So the way I thought about it, and this would obviously be different for different people. Me, I remember being a kid and latching on to the Sam Raimi films.
Yep.
Because while they were good movies, there was enough there for it to go for a target audience of a child. I remember seeing that in theaters. I was like 5, maybe even younger.
Yeah.
Probably younger. So
You were 97 or 98?
97.
5.
Yeah. So I was 5 years old, and I was able to latch on to this as a kid. Even though Green Goblin scared the living hell out of me, I thought it was a great movie, and I loved to watch them. When I think about this movie, this is almost a movie that – no, this is a movie that, maybe you're like 12, and you find a cassette and it's this movie, and you finally say, oh, let me check this out. And you look at it and you watch it, and it doesn't resonate with you the same way it would have. I don't know. Again, this is a movie I think that would have aged better than it would have been when it came out, but not for the best reasons.
So yes and no. First of all, I think, and I don't know if this is what you were hinting at in a way. I think Sean mentioned it. If this movie was made, it would have made money. It definitely would have made money. You put James Cameron, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Leonardo DiCaprio is not a huge star at this point, but if you put James Cameron
he was on the rise,
and Spider-Man together and release it immediately after the Tim Burton Batman movie and Tim Burton Batman Returns movie, I think you have good luck with it. If you wait and do it at once Joel Schumacher gets the rights to Batman, I think you're going to have an issue. and I firmly believe that, because I think Spider-Man's obviously a much campier character than Batman. And as I've already said, the first two Batman movies were really well done. The last two weren't, but the first two Batman movies were really, really well done. And much like you were saying, those weren't really kids' movies either.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, as
Not
much
really.
as I hate to admit this, looking back now, being an adult and understanding movies and what's a good movie and what's a bad movie just by naked eye. When I was a kid, I remember latching on to Batman Forever and Batman and Robin more than I did Batman and Batman Returns.
Yep.
Partially
Forever
because the Joker scared the shit out of me as a little boy. And the Penguin creeped me out. Not as much as the Joker, but still creeped me out. But it was that fun campiness of Batman Returns and Batman Forever and Batman and Robin that I think brought me in as a kid. So I definitely 110% agree with your point that this would have been harder for young children to latch onto the Spider-Man character through this film.
Yeah.
It would have been, because think about it, it would have been tough for adults to say, to bring their 5-year-old to this. I'll kill you, motherfucker. I swear, you sick bastard. That's not something I want my 5-year-old to hear.
No way that makes the final cut, by the way.
No
way in hell. There's reason this movie didn't get made, and there's a lot of reasons, actually. But in the end of the day, I feel like there's
Stan
definitely
Lee
some...
would have stepped in and stopped it.
Yeah, he
Probably.
wouldn't want that. I think
Wasn't
some of
even
the
their production
more
company, I don't think.
Pervy
Yeah.
Spider-Man scenes wouldn't have done it. Wouldn't have got in. You know, like a lot of this movie would definitely have been different if it got to production.
Yes, and I definitely I do agree with that, because and Greenblatt pointed this out. I think it was the first thing he said was that this isn't really Spider-Man. It reminds me of, and not that a ton of people watch our videos, but if anybody did watch this video, I'll get roasted for this, because you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Henry Cavill as Superman. Now, I'm actually excited because they are making another Henry Cavill Superman movie, and I think it has potential.
That hasn't been confirmed yet.
It's been kind of confirmed. It's
I
been
think
they said they
confirmed
wanted-
that Warner. Okay,
They said
it's
that they
confirmed
said they
that
want to
Warner
bring him
Brothers
back.
is working on it.
Yeah.
It's confirmed that Warner Brothers is working on it, and they scrapped the Supergirl idea. So I like Henry Cavill as Superman, but I don't love Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman, just because.
Well, that's also the writing, though. I mean, he was written horribly. Henry Cavill is an absolutely incredible actor. Like, he is amazing in almost everything
and I
else
get-
that he is in.
And I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to argue that Henry Cavill isn't a good actor. I'm not trying to argue that Henry Cavill doesn't play a good Superman. I'm trying to argue that the Superman we saw in Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League was too hardcore, too serious, too mopey, and too stern to be Superman. And that's why I've pointed out to you guys 100 times why I'm so excited that my favorite iteration of Superman, which is the Tyler Hoechlin Superman that I know you guys don't love, but I do personally, is getting his own show this fall. or asterisk was supposed
I
to get
liked
its
it.
own show this fall.
Yeah,
Corona
Lois-
might have pushed everything off. But to each his own and getting
Yeah,
back
Lois
on
and Clark.
topic, I'm
Yeah.
excited for it. But getting back on topic, you're right. It doesn't feel like Peter Parker. Okay, no, that didn't come out right. It feels like Peter Parker, and the Peter Parker scenes, it doesn't feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's almost
like what happened.
it's almost
with
like
the
he
Sam
puts
Raimi
on the
movies.
mask and becomes a completely different person.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Like a lot of the stuff that they pull out would be something I would almost consider throwing into a like symbiote storyline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
You know?
no, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense because in my first read of this, I did think, and I haven't mentioned this yet because I was kind of saving it, but this is the perfect time. I did think a lot about Spider-Man 3 and how this is the most we've seen Peter tempted to the dark side until Spider-Man 3. And I know until Spider-Man 3, but I mean, compared to Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 3 was the only other one that did it. But as Matt pointed out, that was because of the symbiote, and the symbiote was warping Peter's mind. We just see Peter Parker being angsty and venomous, as a pun, without venom.
I wanted to say, like, add on to what you're saying. Like, I also don't think this movie would have worked because there's also a big thing I don't think you guys have talked about.
Yep.
Merchandising.
Yeah.
Merchandising is a huge part of these like these modern movies. That's how like they get a ton of their money. Like that was one of the only reasons why because Disney, like with Disney and Sony, like they like merchandising was one of the biggest parts of that deal to bring Spider-Man back. Merchandising is a huge part. Like I don't think you would have been able to get like much merchandise out of this movie.
Oh, I disagree.
Like,
I
some, but like
entirely disagree.
I mean some, but like I don't know,
Star
just like
Wars
with
was
how
built
the
on a
movie is.
Pile of toys.
Oh,
And
yeah.
okay, can I go into toy nerd mode for a second?
Sure.
Do it.
Because I know my shit when it comes to this. So the early 90s was right as Toy Biz action figure revolution was really starting to take off. So I disagree. Plus you look at the merchandising and the merchandising records for Batman 89 and Batman Returns, that was pretty insane. So that on that one I do have to disagree. I think they could merchandise the shit out of this.
No, I mean, just like I mean, if they gave it like a PG, well, then again, there wasn't really PG-13 like hard PG-13s in the '90s, wasn't there?
Not
It was
really.
the PG-13, like
because like I mean,
Yeah, this would have been PG-13.
yeah,
See, the problem is it reads like an R-rated movie. Yeah, Batman 89 is PG-13.
it does.
yeah.
It reads like an R-rated movie, and as Matt already pointed out, they definitely would have softened it. You're not going to have Peter Parker screaming the words, "I'll kill you, motherfucker," in a Spider-Man movie. It just doesn't.
Also,
You
probably
can't
not like
make-
the torture scene either.
Yeah.
To me, especially in the 90s, you can't make Spider-Man any more intense or more mature than they made, I would say, the original X-Men trilogy, which
Yeah.
even that pushed a line a lot. You know, I mean, to the point where Wolverine was flipping people off with his middle claw.
Yeah, but yes and no. Okay, yes and no. Because yes, I agree that that's the line they would try to push. The X-Men line. That's where you theoretically want to be.
Yeah.
No, the only reason I'm saying no is that it's not. The X-Men are, I think, more serious characters than Spider-Man. So, in the sense that they would be
Yeah.
pushing that line, yes, I wouldn't want to see a Spider-Man movie with the same atmosphere that the X-Men have. Which I know you weren't
No, and I
suggesting.
feel like we
just
probably
wanted
would
to
have
clarify.
done that.
What was that?
No, yeah, and that was my point. Like, that was my point. They shouldn't go that far. So I feel like they might have actually gone that far, and that would have been an issue.
Yes.
You look at the X-Men movies, and they did well for kids. You know, I was Wolverine for Halloween one year. Like, so maybe it does work.
All right, I do want to move forward. The next thing I want to talk about, kind of fantasizing about what could have been had this movie been made and had this movie spurred the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the 90s versus late 2000s, early 2010s. Now, I know very established that hypothetically, if this movie was made, it probably wouldn't have happened. It could have been a Spider-Man sequel, a Spider-Man trilogy. Probably wouldn't have gone much further than that. I can't see them connecting it in any other way. But it's fun to imagine. So, Sean, why don't I start with you? So, the list I gave you, just tell me who you have in total. The list I gave you, and did you guys get all of them? I didn't expect you guys to do all of them.
I did not.
I got
most
them all.
of them.
Just hang on a sec.
I did kind of figure you'd get them all. But the list I gave you was Cap, Tony, Thor, Banner, Clint, Nat, Panther, Ant-Man, Wasp, Fury, Captain Marvel, Rocket, Thanos, Loki, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Bucky. Now, Sean, who did you get, and who did you get for each?
For Captain America, I had Brad Pitt.
Okay.
Winter Soldier, I had John Stamos.
Ooh.
I saw that. I saw that in a bunch of fan casts as well.
Falcon, I had Eddie Murphy.
Same.
That'd have been interesting. Scarlet Witch, I had Alicia Silverstone. That's going back to the 90s, all right.
I had her as I have her as Wasp. But
Not
I'll
bad
get
one.
into that.
Fair enough.
I'll go into that when I do mine.
This one I thought made more sense. Hawkeye, I had Christian Slater.
I saw that too. That's good.
Ant-Man, I had Matthew Broderick, although you did say Paul Rudd could have done it. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's why I went with
That's a good one.
Silverstone as Wasp with the Clueless connection.
Iron Man, I had Tom Cruise. I don't know how that would have worked out, but looks-wise, I definitely think he would have. Black Widow, I had Mila Djokovic. Black Panther, I had Denzel, which I think Greenblatt said you had. Yep.
I think we have very similar lists.
Yeah, I can't say I'm shocked. Who am I forgetting? Loki, I had.
Yep, that's who I also had.
Interesting.
Gary Oldman.
Dude can do anything.
Am I forgetting anybody?
Fury.
Nick Fury, I had Keith Davis.
Yeah, that's who I had.
Everyone knows whose voice sounds like.
Yep.
It's awesome. And
No,
Dolph
we didn't.
Lundgren.
Yep, same.
Dolph Lundgren. I had Rocket Raccoon. I had Joe Pesci. That would have been
Also, God, same also.
interesting. That would have been fun. Hulk, I had Dave Duchovny.
Also same.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Did you have Doctor Strange? Did you have Keanu as Doctor Strange?
I did not, but that's a good one.
Oh, I didn't even get Doctor Strange. I got to do Doctor Strange. All right, Greenblatt, who else did you have?
So the only differences I had was Hawkeye. I had Johnny Depp
Ooh.
because
Interesting.
I think '90s Johnny Depp would have fit that role in.
Okay.
And for Ant-Man, I had Paul Rudd because dude looks he looks the exact same as he did in Clueless in '95.
Okay.
And it's just like I figured like Alicia Silverstone as Wasp would have been good just because of the Clueless connection there.
Yeah,
Like,
that would have been a better one.
They had amazing chemistry. I mean, Clueless is also just an incredible movie, but just the chemistry there would have worked good for the back and forth with Paul Rudd and Alicia Silverstone, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't have a Carol, Thanos, or Wanda or a Bucky.
It's all good.
I was struggling with that one.
It's all good. I missed some of them too. I looking at this, I don't have a Wanda. And I think that I don't have an Ant-Man. I do have an Ant-Man, but it's Hank Pym. Matt, what about you?
I think you and I did the same Ant-Man. Okay, yeah. Captain America, I also did Brad Pitt.
Okay.
For Tony, I said Rob Lowe.
Ooh.
That's
I like
a
that.
good one.
I like
Right?
it. Sam Seaborn.
Thor, I said Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I
Okay.
was thinking that as well.
I had kind of Conan the Barbarian in my head.
Yeah.
For Banner, I thought we needed another like lovable, curly-headed, soft-spoken man, and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, that might have been
That's
interesting.
cool.
I like it. I'm sure he would have done fine. He does good at everything.
Yeah.
For Clint, I said Sean Penn.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
For Nat, I said Elizabeth Hurley.
Ooh.
Personally, just
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's good.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
I'm jealous.
Black Panther, I said Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
I don't know.
Shut up, Greenblatt.
How
All
am,
right. I mean, it's
how am I the only one that got mine? Keep going.
I'm curious to hear what yours is.
I am too.
For Ant-Man, I said Michael Douglas, and then in
We both did
parentheses
the
said-
same thing.
In parentheses, I said duh.
Yeah.
We both did the same thing. I literally said to my dad when I was making this, I'm like, we're just going to keep Michael Douglas as regular age Hank Pym.
Exactly.
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
My thoughts exactly. Wasp. I said Rachel Wise, which is funny because I didn't realize she's going to be in Black Widow.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
For Fury, again, I mean, he was already around. There's no reason to
Yeah.
replace him. Sam L.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I was debating. I didn't want to go with the cop out thing, but like I like Sam was at the top of my
No,
list.
I got
for
a
that.
good one.
I'm curious.
I'm too.
For Captain Marvel, I said Michelle Pfeiffer.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
For
See,
Captain-
I have Michelle Pfeiffer in the same role, though.
Do you?
Ah.
No, I had Michelle Pfeiffer replaying Wasp.
Oh, duh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Good one.
yeah, that makes sense.
If I'm gonna keep Hank Pym, I'm gonna keep.
Oh, I
Van
forgot.
Damme.
I forgot she was Janet.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally slipped my mind. Good.
You're
good
good.
pickup.
That slipped my mind too.
So
I
for
just
Rocket, I said
forgot
Al
about-
Pacino.
Oh,
Good
okay.
one.
That's
a good one.
For Thanos, I thought Bruce Willis would be interesting.
Okay,
Maybe.
I also put Johnny Depp on my list, but I put him for Loki.
that's a good one.
Okay, that's a good one.
For Scarlet Witch, I was thinking who could be like young, kind of. If you're doing Scarlet Witch in the 90s, you're thinking more gothic. So I'm thinking Winona Ryder.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I had a feeling you were gonna say that.
Falcon, I said Will Smith.
Same.
All right, yeah.
And Bucky, I said Jared Leto.
He was around in the 90s?
Interesting.
I like it.
Oh, he was on Third Rock from the Sun, wasn't he?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh,
Oh,
right,
yeah. My bad.
Yeah.
right. Yep. Nope. Nor me.
I am now realizing I completely went rogue, no pun intended, and just kind of made these up as I went along when I was doing this. So without further ado, Captain America, Peter Weller, RoboCop,
All right.
Interesting.
Tony Stark, Patrick Swayze,
All right.
Natasha Romanoff, Angelina Jolie,
Yes.
Clint Barton, Keanu Reeves,
Okay.
Yep.
Bruce Banner, Lou Ferrigno. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
But as Bruce Banner,
Yeah.
Okay, is Bruce Banner? I would go Duchovny, but body I would go Lou Ferrigno because they don't have CGI.
Fair enough.
Thor is Dolph Lundgren.
Okay.
That was the easiest one.
Yeah.
Nick Fury, Steven Seagal.
all right.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Nick Fury, I forgot Nick Fury was white in the 90s.
He used to be white. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was white up until
Well, he
the
was,
early 2000s.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what was
They
his name?
changed it so it could be Samuel
Yeah.
L. Jackson.
What was his name that was in the Nick Fury movie in the 90s?
David Hasselhoff.
Yes.
Oh,
it was Hasselhoff.
Jesus.
Wasn't it? Was it? It was also someone else. Someone else.
I don't remember. But continuing. Loki is Ralph Fiennes, who
Okay.
plays Voldemort.
Oh, yes.
Fine. Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes, thank you.
Yep.
Falcon, Will Smith. Got that one.
Yep.
Bucky. This is more of a Winter Soldier than a Bucky, but Mel Gibson.
Okay.
Hank Pym, Michael Douglas. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Black Panther. This is the most obvious one I could think of, and this is the first one that came to me when doing this whole list. Wesley Snipes.
All right.
Come
Oh, yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would honestly. I mean, Wesley Snipes is good.
I needed a role for Jackie Chan, and I went with Jimmy Woo or Shang-Chi. It doesn't matter which one. But if it was Jimmy Woo, you could use Jimmy Woo to replace Phil Coulson.
Mhm.
And Jimmy Woo, Jackie Chan would have essentially the Phil Coulson role. Star-Lord's Kurt Russell, pretty easy. Sigourney Weaver is going to play Gamora.
I like it.
Bruce Willis will be voicing Rocket Raccoon. Drax is Sylvester Stallone.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Now, this is kind of a tough one because I don't know that they would be able to do Ultron with CGI, but Ultron is Arnold Schwarzenegger
Mm-hmm.
as Terminator. Pretty easy. Mila Jovovich, Captain Marvel. Gary Oldman, Doctor Strange, and obviously Michelle Pfeiffer as Wasp. So that's what I came up with. I think that would be pretty cool. I think there are a couple stretches, but again, I agree with Greenblatt that as much as this is a fantasy, it couldn't have been done.
No.
In terms of CGI, they couldn't do Iron Man. They couldn't do Hulk. They couldn't do Thor properly. They probably couldn't do Ant-Man. They couldn't do Wakanda. Falcon would look goofy flying.
Oh my God! Imagine
and they
doing a
could-
Wakanda. Imagine doing a Wakanda in the 90s.
That would get very racist
Yes, it would.
very
It'd be
fast.
so fucking racist.
Oh, my God.
It would not work.
Wakanda in
that's
the
our
90s is
fantastic.
basically just coming to America.
Yeah, I was gonna.
It really
say
would be.
It would be.
It would exactly be coming to America.
Hey, we're
Right.
getting a sequel to that too.
We are.
No, we're not.
Yeah. Yes,
We
we
are.
are. Yeah,
They already,
Original
like,
cast,
filmed
everything.
it, I
I'm
think,
stoked.
yeah.
we are. It's original cast. Yeah.
All right, boys. So we have been going for a while now, but there is one more thing I want to talk about. And I know it's something you guys want to talk about, and that's the best Spider-Man suit, because we did do a lot of talk about Spider-Man today. Before we go into the full discussion, I actually thought we were talking about movie suits, so I do want to discuss really quick, what is the best movie suit?
Iron Spider suit. Movie
Okay.
Iron Spider. 1, he was able to survive in space with it. 2, he used that suit against the vast hordes of armies in
Hold
the
on.
Endgame battle.
Whoa. When we have this discussion about comics,
Aesthetically.
this is
Oh.
aesthetic. This isn't what's the most powerful suit.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, my list kind of still. I mean,
No,
all right.
it's fine, and I think aesthetically you can say Iron Spider too, but I just want to make sure we're.
I
arguing over the right reason.
have Iron Spider suit. MCU is my number 2.
Okay, Matt, what about you?
So, okay, I have 2 that come to mind when I think of my favorite Spider-Man suits.
Yep.
And I'm thinking one is more traditional and then one's kind of outlandish Spider-Verse.
Yep.
I'm going to say Superior Spider-Man.
Oh wait, we're doing movies real quick.
Oh, we're doing movies.
Oh,
Yeah, we're doing
Right.
movies first.
Got you. As far as movies go, I'm going to have to say the Tom Holland suit.
Okay.
The original Stark Tom Holland suit's my favorite. I love it.
No, I like that one. That's my number 2. Sean.
What Matt said, and then I also like Tobey Maguire's in the first one, like the last
That's
one
my
he
number
had.
3.
It's just classic, yeah.
In my opinion, the most comic accurate of all the Spider-Man suits is the Andrew Garfield suit in the second movie.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my personal favorite. I still have that action figure somewhere downstairs. I love it. It's like spot on. Yeah, my favorite movie Spider-Man suit has to be the Andrew Garfield suit in the second movie. Now, going to comic books. Greenblatt, why don't you start us off? Because I know you were actually the one who came up with this idea.
yes. My number 1 is the Spider Armor Mark III.
Okay.
1, it looks awesome as hell. Like it's beautifully designed. Also, it's easily the most powerful suit. I mean, I also, like, for my list, I also went power wise in a couple visualies. But for number 1, I have the Spider Armor Mark III. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that suit before. Spider Armor Mark III, which was created by Peter Parker at Horizon Labs during the Ends of the Earth arc of The Amazing Spider-Man, which is one of the greatest Spider-Man arcs of all time, because it's him, Silver Sable, and Black Widow going up against the Sinister Six as the deadliest they've ever been. And Peter designed this suit to withstand all 6 members of the Sinister Six, like filled with backup, like filled with fail-safes, like gadgets designed to take down each member of the Sinister Six in one suit. And it's just the most badass looking thing I've ever seen. Like it's my favorite spider suit, and he does easily take down each member of the Sinister Six. Although that does end up leaving, spoiler, it does end up leading on in a few issues later to Peter dying and Doc Ock taking over his body, which leads into Superior Spider-Man. Which
Don't steal Matt's piece.
No, I'm just saying that's all it leads to. No, Superior Spider-Man suit is not on my list.
Okay.
My number 3 is the Iron Spider suit from, because I already said my number 2. My number 3 is the Iron Spider suit from Civil War. Just because I remember when I was young, when I was reading that, it was like, holy crap, that's like one of the really things that made me think, Spider-Man is really powerful. Like if he, like, especially with that suit, and it's just, Civil War is one of the best storylines in Marvel, and it's just that suit made it awesome. It's just so cool with like the retractable metal arms that came out from behind him that helped him just beat up people. I forgot to add on for the MCU Iron Spider thing. One of the things I did like about it was because it was designed with the nanotech that Tony made for the MCU suit. That was the other argument I had for it.
Okay.
And for number 4, which is my last one, I chose the Velocity suit from Spider-Man PS4 just because it just looks really cool. Just the design of like the spider going all the way down his body. We were sticking strictly with Peter's suits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because I would have added 2099 suit because the Miguel O'Hara suit is.
Oh, hold on, because that's actually my number 2. I'm sorry, that is
Okay.
my number 2.
Yeah, I mean the 2099 suit is just awesome as hell.
All right, Matt.
Cool. Yeah. So coming off of when Greenblatt started bringing up Superior Spider-Man is my number 1 favorite suit, and it's technically worn by Peter Parker, but not really. It's actually Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body, which is an awesome storyline. I recommend anyone who wants to read something a little bit different as far as Spider-Man goes to check that out. It's very simplistic. It's red on top, goes into the black. I think it looks really cool, kind of sleek, kind of matches to the original Spider-Man look, but a little bit new. I personally don't like the fancy suits too much. I don't like. I think as far as fancy suits go, I would have to agree with Greenblatt with the original Iron Spider suit. That one's really sick. But besides that, I don't like when Spider-Man isn't relying on just being Spider-Man.
Yep.
Number 2, not worn by Peter Parker, is the Spider-Punk costume.
Nice.
I like it.
Spider-Punk is so cool. Not really a mainstay character. He's always just been thrown in as an extra whenever anything Spider-Verse comes around. But super fun. You got the big metal spikes. He's got the denim vest. It's a very typical Spider-Man costume, but just made to look and resonate with like 70s early punk rock. It's really cool. Yeah. So those are my top 2. And then I just would probably say for my number 3, I really like the Ben Reilly suit. It's very simple. They kind of use it as Peter Parker's starter suit in the new Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. I always thought it was cool. It just felt really realistic to me.
I'm actually going to take the other clone, but Sean, what about you?
I only had 2 really because there were a lot of suits to go through. My favorite, believe it or not, is the symbiote suit.
I was waiting for. I was like, "How the hell have neither of you said that already?"
I was thinking the same thing, to be honest.
I just really liked it. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just so cool.
Yeah.
And then I had the Miles Morales suit at number 2, which makes sense. And then I just wanted to throw this in as like a best of the rest. I thought the Spider-Gwen suit was interesting.
Yeah.
Whenever you just
that's a
color, I thought
one.
it was nice.
I love the Spider-Gwen suit.
I thought they did a good job with that.
All right, so I had 4, but now it's 3 because Sean did take the symbiote. The symbiote wasn't even in my original, but I'm like, I have to bring this up if nobody brings it up. Because when he gets possessed by not possessed, but taken over by Venom, it's fucking cool.
It's crazy.
My personal 3 favorite. So my number 1 absolute favorite Spider-Man suit of all time is the Big Time suit, which is the black with the green outline. Not outline, but the green details. And that's the suit he gets when he loses his spider sense. So he needs a more armory suit to make up for that. And he has the green Big Time suit. They call it the stealth suit in the video game. And personally, when I play Spider-Man PS4, I do always wear the Big Time suit. My other personal favorite is the other clone. Matt, of course, mentioned the Ben Reilly suit. I personally love the Kane suit, which is the second, quote-unquote, Scarlet Spider 2. And that's the one with the black hood that kind of goes around here and the black emblem, but the rest is like a scarlet, flashy red. And, of course, has the spikes coming out of here, the talons, which I really like. I think that's really cool. And my third favorite is actually the second Spider-Man 2099 suit, the 2099 white suit.
That was a good one.
I think that's really cool.
Can I add in 2 late entries?
Yeah, please do.
The bombastic Spider-Man suit.
Bombastic Bagman.
Bagman, yeah, sorry. The bombastic Bagman suit.
Yep.
Oh, I just thought of another suit, too. I'm going to toss in the ring.
And the Leopardon suit, which is just literally a Megazord.
Okay.
All right.
Do you remember that time, like, there's Spider-Man, another version of Spider-Man, the Japanese version, he has a literal Megazord that he fights crime in? Can I just say how awesome that is?
Matt, what else do you want to throw in?
So, I'm going to throw in one more suit. This is a cool suit. I totally can't believe I forgot about this because I love this suit. When Spider-Man, after Human Torch dies, Spider-Man joins the Fantastic Four.
Oh,
I
Change
forgot
their name
about
to the
this.
Future Foundation, and they go
Oh.
sleek white and black.
Yes.
Spider-Man
Oh,
Future
yeah.
That is
Foundation
good.
is such a good-looking suit.
Oh,
I
it's
can't believe I didn't think about that
amazing.
quicker.
Jesus.
And it's a great read too.
It
Oh
is.
my God,
I'm
I love
actually,
Future
I'm
Foundation.
gonna read it. I'm gonna reread it. There's only like 20 issues, aren't there? Though.
Yeah,
It's a quick one.
It's not long,
Yeah.
yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not huge on Fantastic Four lore. Right after Johnny dies, they don't wait very long for killing everybody off, right? Not killing everybody off, but sending
they get rid of the
negative zone
entire
and
team.
cutting the series,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm,
So it
you're
doesn't
right.
go on very long, but it's definitely a fun read. All right, do you guys have any more?
Yeah. Hang on. Also, can we also talk about just how good the new suit for the PS4 game was? Like with the white logo.
It was cool. I didn't love it actually, believe it or not.
I didn't really use it as much.
Yeah, because I wanted to. When I played the game, I used. When I played the game, I always used the big time suit, as I said, the Tom Holland suit.
Yeah.
And the classic Spider-Man.
Also, I mean, the Fear Itself suit is awesome because that was the suit that in the comics was from the Fear Itself series, where I believe that was made from like Asgardian materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is going to wrap up our show, guys. Thank you so much. That was freaking awesome. I think we did a great job today, much better than our last attempt.
A lot of nerding out today. It felt fun.
Yeah. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel below and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I promise I'm going to start using them more at the 202 Show. But make sure you subscribe to new content and turn on notifications because we do post stuff every week. And we do trim the videos down to specific segments so you don't have to watch a whole show. Say you're not a sports guy or don't like The Office, you can skip the segment earlier and just watch Spider-Man Spark. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are the 202 Show for all of us. So long and good night.